Class 6.js file will work like the child component. Class 6.js will work like the child component. Inside that, we can use class name. Import we have to do first. Import React from React. Import React from React. Class class 6 extends component. Component you are supposed to call in the beginning. Next you do export default class 6. Okay, next after that you will write here constructor. This constructor will get some data from other component as a props. Then you can follow here super as well. Coming down, the render function, and under the render function here called return. Under that return we can follow a division. Class name call hyphen lg hyphen 3 or 4 you can keep 4 mb 3 or 4 we can apply. Next after that keep a division. Last name maybe some kind of shadow, then p3 rounded etc. Come down below, use a h5 tag or h4 tag. Full name Ramesh. Next paragraph 35 years. Next paragraph education. See 2008. Okay, next after this, child component, props in props value will come from other component. So first we'll call this component as a static. Quickly. Okay, hope ready. Save now. Then we'll go to the class 5.js file. In that, we will call this component class 6 as a child component. Ready? Be clear? Then we'll go to the next file. Class5.js. Go to React. Okay, next after that, write on import next is called my class 6 from class 6.js file. Then we'll write the next class, my class 5 extends component export default my class 5. Now we'll write here again constructor from inside super. Now we can follow the render again. Return division class name container empty 34 we can write. Division class name row division from LG12 text center H3 props using React class component. Now this file we can call once under the routing and check this main page is loading or not. Right, so call this file in the app.js file. Class 5 we need to call here. From class 5.js CSS file. Come down, create a link for class 5. File, class 5. Okay, page is loading. Now in that class 5, you can call class 6 as a child component. So when user is calling, this becomes your nested component, component inside component. Next, we have to pass the value. We will pass the value, then it will become as a properties. Okay.
So from the chat, you can skip to some part, like if we want only the one particular module should come to the parent.
Function, in this function, what you write, all will come. This is the class component. In this, whatever you will write, all will come. At last, what we are exporting? We are exporting the class name. When we export the class, then everything will come. For a specific, if you want particular should come, we have other solution for that. Okay, we can create a functional component, and in functional component you can write multiple function, and each function you can do the export. Each function you can do the export, so that you can call each function. In this, what we are calling? We are calling as a class. So when you call the class, it will return as a render. Inside render, whatever is written, everything will come. That you cannot control. Yes, based on property, we can hide something here. We can show something here. That option is there. But you cannot control the content of the render. Redux we have. Under the Redux, we are going to learn. In one component, you can write multiple function, and instead of calling multiple entire, you can call here. React is one and component is another. Component is not out of this library. Component is the part of this library only. Which one? Call as a React. In fact, without calling component also we can use here. But we write here especially every time. It will be focus on our mind. Oh, I'm calling there. Then I'm using below. For example, if you want to see, I have many examples like that also. Suppose let me go here. Which Redux is running recent. Redux is running recent, that is in 2 p.m. In 2 p.m. people, if I go to the project and I come here, okay, I can go to the which file, and let me go to the action file. See, in this, how many functions are there? One function, export is written. We can call this function. One more function, export is written. One more function, export is written. There is nothing like export default. All functions are able to export. You can call one function also, you can call multiple functions also. Now, how to call that? Look at here. If I go to the any of view file, I should have here under which page? Let me go to your user page. You can see the file name is action, my action. From there, how many functions I am calling? 2 functions. So, but if it is a class based, if it is a class based, at last what we are doing? Export default, which one? Particular one. Yes, there may be a chance in this file we can use multiple classes. 1 class, 2 class, 3 class, 4 class. Everywhere we can write export default class 6, class 7, class 8. Then we can write import class 7 from where? Class 6.js. We can write import class 9 from where? Class 6.js. If multiple classes. But in one class, whatever the function you have written, you cannot divide that, you cannot apply the restriction on that. When the class will call, it will call all their member functions. It can be lifecycle method or it may be user defined function. Everything will get called because at last what you are calling? You are calling whole and soul of the class. You are calling direct. So in the class component, you can't control that. You have to, it will get call everything, all feature. Okay, so hope the page is loading like this. Okay, this is without property as of now, just you have fixed some value and then it's called here. Let's see class 5 what it says. It's imported a class called class 6, and under the class 5 have their own constructor for their own internal process, and the class 6 will have their own component for internal process. Now class 6 want to share some data with the class 5 want to share some data with the class 6. Class 5 want to share some data with the class 6 because class 6 what we have a static here. We are not calling any API, we are not calling anything. So what it will do, every time it will give you static content. Now instead of this printing Ramesh 35 years MCA 2008, we can print here the variable so that whenever the value will come, that will get printed. So first we will come to the class 6 only. What are the variable we want to print there? We can call the variable, then we can follow this. Loading class 5 is 6 is loading or not? Loading of it loading, then come to the next page. That is called class 5.js5. Okay, come now to the class 5, no, class 6, and print here the props we called here props. So usually in class, whenever you want to send any kind of input, you will send the input to the class. It will be captured by constructor by default. So props become a variable. In these props, the value will come from the child component, parent component. From parent component, some content will come in this in the form of object, array object. That we will be printing like this. This dot props. It's become a member variable of the class. This dot props dot this dot props dot, suppose we will write as a full name. So full name will become as a array object that will come under the props variable. Next you can write here this dot props this dot props dot this dot props dot, what was that, age. This dot props dot education. This dot props dot edu, and one more, this dot props dot year. Okay, so these 4 inputs are going to come from the parent component. Every time whenever we call this component, we will send 4 input. Okay, come to the now parent component, that is your class 5.js. Okay, so class 6 we have written. So how many properties we are passing? 4 properties. Okay, so we can go to the class 5, and from the class 5 we have to send here all full name, equivalent, full name, Ganesh. After that, what else we have taken here? Full name, and then age, education, and year. Age 20 years, age edu, year, this is for one user. Now whichever the value we pass from here, okay, so printing that value.
Yes.
It's print here. Now remaining value will come from the API. Remaining one we have written here is a hard code is okay. Remaining we can call from the API. We have already one JSON API. There we have name, age and education we have. Passing year is not there. Passing year we can do something. Name, okay. So name, here we have education, age we have, name we have. And instead of passing year, we have a field here called mobile. Okay, so 4 input we have here also. So what we will do, we will call the same API. So this becomes a fixed value, a static value. Now, if you have a dynamic value, how to get from somewhere, right? Dynamic value, how to read and display. So let's import here that Axios part, import. We got idea how to send the data from one class to the other class using which method? Properties. Okay, using properties method. Nested component will happen, component interaction will happen, all will be in one example. Now, what we can do? We can do here import Axios from Axios. Now, after that, come here, create one variable, this dot state equal to allow bracket. You have to write that curly bracket. Under that, you can write a user colon array as a empty array. User as a empty array. Okay. Next, after that, you have to come down and use below if you want to call a API directly. If you want to call a API only one time, then we can use directly component did mount also. Using the component did mount also, we can call direct API instead of writing the function if the function is not required to call again and again. If the function is required to call again and again, then we have to write a function. If you want to get the data from API again and again, you have to write a function. In case if you want to call only one time, then you can use this one also directly. Component did mount. Component did mount. Under the component did mount also we can call axios get. Inside we can pass http://localhost:1234/user. Axios.get http://localhost:1234/user. Come down dot then the response will come from there. That response dot data we need to send to the state. This dot set state. Under the set state we can pass user colon response dot data. But at this place there is a possibility of error also. What is the possibility of the error? If the API return as a null value, the null will go to your array and it will become an error. If API from here If null value will come, zero value will come. Zero will come means it will become as a null directly. If null is coming, then or maybe error will come. Error also can come. So if that is the case, then what will happen? User variable will get a something non-array value. Okay. So what you should do first, at this place you can write a condition. If response dot data dot length greater than 0, then only pass the value to the, then only update the state. Okay, if data is not greater than 0 means if the array, if API is sending as an empty array, then no need to update to the array. Let it be default value whichever one there. Okay, so done. Now come down inside the API, whichever the content is coming. In the API, whichever the content is coming, that content will go to where? User. When on load, component did mount will execute on load. Come down below and here after this my class, after the my class 6 at this place, we can use map function. This dot state dot, this dot state dot user dot map. Map inside keep a variable called info comma index. Next after that come down below, return a div, not div, return a my class 6. In my class 6, key is the default property, you should keep that, else again it will give the indexing problem. Next after that we have the full name. You will pass here info dot name, that is coming from the backend. Next age equal to info dot age. Next edu equal to info dot edu. Next year equal to info dot mobile. This mobile number I am passing at the place of year. You can pass as empty also, no problem. And check whether it's happening or not. On page load, it should get the data from API and display inside the Okay, working or not? Let's go to the class 5. See, two more users are coming from where? API. One is coming by default and two are coming from the API. But in your this JSON server, you should have data, then it will come. Two are there. If I add one more, 40 years, it's there. Save. 3 will come here. If I go to the class 5, 1 is the fixed value, 3 will come from the API. After taking data from API, we are able to migrate with the props. Component did mount. It is here. Under the component did mount, we wrote a function directly. So after render component did mount will call, and this will call the API. API will bring the data get to a state. But when response.data.length greater than 0, there. Error or no error?
So, but box is coming one by one.
One by one. New line. You have here problem. Here. First check, is it inside the row? This 12 is open close. And after that 12 is still open. 12 is open, 12 is closing here in the last. Sorry, row. Row is open, row is closed. This entire map is a part of the row. That is the one problem. Another problem under the class 6, check the division have the call LG34 or outage. Okay. Okay, so using class component, we saw input output, API calling, sending the data to API, receiving from API, props, correct? Props based on API as well. Next, we will see some function of some example of life cycle method. Component did mount we saw, render we saw, constructor we saw what was happening. We will see one more called component did update. In this component, if we go, which component? This is the class. This is going to API. This is also going to API. Coming from the API. We have to create a separate example. In this example, we can't manage that because it is calling from the API part. Okay, here, okay, in this file, class 3. Class 3 you have made. Come to the class 3. But again in class 3, when you delete the record, you are not deleting from a state. Where we are deleting? We are deleting from the API. But component did update will work on the state part. If you modify the data under the state, then it will get called. This is calling from API. So here also it will not be affecting. Okay. Let's come to which component? Class 1 file. Okay. Class 1 file we can call. Class 1 we have one file. Come to that file. We will create one more example tomorrow, but we'll see a small thing how that work when it get called. Okay. So in this file, you have constructor, you have multiple function, and when you click on buttons, you are updating the value of the state. We are updating the value of state. Whenever whether you do plus plus or minus minus. Component did update says whenever the changes will happen in your state data. Okay, whenever the changes will happen in a state data. So suppose this 30 is coming from the state. If I click here, it's become as a 40. So what happened here? The changes happen under the state of the data of the state. Component did update will get called immediately if you modify anything under the state. Let me come here. First go here and create a variable inside the same state. Create a variable called something. update colon no, update colon no. So by default, there is a variable called update, and what is holding? It's holding as a no. When the page will load, at the page loading time, when the page will load, update will hold as a no only. When the page will load, update variable will hold as a no. And let us go here and call a function call. So if you are writing, you write it update colon no. Now come down and write a function called component did update. Component did update. Component did update. This component did update. Component did update. But again, that value belong to where? State. It becomes a wrong action. See what I'm trying to do. When we do the changes under the update, when we do the changes under the state, I'm trying to change the value of this variable update. Let me go here. This dot set state. This also becomes a wrong solution only, not perfect solution. Update colon in double quote as a yes. If I print the value of update, what it should print in the last? Yes or no? By default, what should come? This dot state dot update. Update is our variable. So when the page will run, hopefully the value of update should come as a no. It's coming as a no. Now what we are expecting? We are expecting if you click on this button, if you click on the button, you are going to update the value of the state. When you are going to change the value of the state, component did update should call automatically. And if the component did update will call automatically, the value will be as a yes. In the browser, it should reflect the value as a yes. Hello. Okay. 2 p.m. Yes. Okay. Okay. From 2. Okay. So now, if I go here and click on button, see, I told in the beginning, I'm taking the wrong action. See what happened? What it says? The maximum update exceed. See, here at this place, what is the problem is? Problem is component did mount will update when? As soon as you change the value of the state, it will execute automatically. And look at there. Inside the component did mount what update? Component did update what I'm doing? Again, I'm updating the state only. Updating the state or not? So component did mount function say, component did update function will say, whenever you do any changes under the state, this function will get called. Component did update. And what I made a mistake, I am calling set state inside the component did update for what purpose? To update the value of a state again. So what happened? It's gone under the infinite. It's gone under the infinite. condition says if you do any changes under the state, component did update will call. And under the component did update, what you are doing? Again, you are calling the update. You are again updating the state. That meaning one is calling each other and both gone under the loop and both become as a infinite loop. This line says the same thing. Maximum update depth exceeded. Like maximum, there is a certain limit in every second you can update the value. What happened? That got exceeded. So at this place, what we should do? We should not do any changes here. We should not do anything here under the component did update. That should update the component again. Okay, let me go here. Instead of doing this line, just to understand whether it's calling or not, if I go here and keep an alert, call updated. Updated. Now here by default what it says? No. If I click on go, see, it is saying call as a updated. So when this updated alert will come, if component did update will call, we have not called anywhere component update, did update, are you calling anywhere? Nowhere. So when it get called, automatically it get called whenever you modify the value of state. Whenever we modify the value of state. So the people who is going to ask an interview, they are going to ask you, usage everyone will know. Where to use that everyone will understand. People wanted to know, are you going to misuse the functionality? Are you going to use on the wrong place also? Now suppose if we have no idea, okay, under the component did update, if I'm calling again update, again the component did update will call, again it will call, like it will go under infinite, right? So it is 100% sure at any cost under the component did update, you should not call any other functionality that should update the component again. Understood or not? Under the component did update, we should not call any functionality that should update the value of your state. If you call any functionality that will update the value of a state, 100% sure it will call each other. One will call to 2 and 2 will call to 1, and it will go under the infinite. State will get update, and once update will happen, component did update will call, update will call, again it will update the state. So it will go under the infinite. So while using, we will remember this thing. Under the component did update, we will never call any functionality that will update the component again. Okay, that will update the state value again. So now, how many function is clear? Constructor is clear for what purpose? Variable declaration. Render is clear for what purpose? To generate some HTML. Now after that, which one? Component did mount is clear for what purpose? To call onload. It's like the onload. After render it will call. Component did update for what purpose? Whenever the any changes happen under the state variable, whenever any changes will happen under the state in a component, component did mount will get update will get called. And at that point we will remember under the component did update, we will not call any functionality that will again update the state. If you are calling, then it will become a wrong solution. Okay. Some more are there. See, but in this case, as of now, what you can see, in this case, under the component did mount, you can call a API. That API will do something in the background, and it should not reflect anything under the state. Okay, those kind of functions. If you look into the W3, they have just given as a document.getElement by ID. They have not updated the state. If they will update the state, then what will happen? It will go under the infinite. Okay, so I'll create some solid example for you tomorrow as the idea. Okay, some more are there. Component will mount, component will unmount. Now component will unmount. Like component is about to go. Okay, about to go means you are closing something. That is called component will unmount. Okay, means component is about to go, about to hide, about to stop the functionality. Okay, but in that case, you cannot make such a big example. Those are only for the interview purpose. People wanted to understand whether you have clear idea about the flow inside the life cycle method. Okay. So that according to need, you can use in the different point of time. Okay.
For class, like class component, we use component, not in a functional component, it's kind of
Use effect, yeah.
only use.
Use effect. Use effect will work in all the cases. Component did mount, component will mount, component update. For all the cases, we have one called use effect. In that use effect, why we use the in the last as a true? Because component a use effect will execute in multiple cases. So we write as a one. Okay, execute no problem. But how many times? Only one time. Here we don't have any control. Okay, I will see today. If anything is there, we'll give it a solid example to know. Okay, tomorrow we'll see you.